Hello everyone, and back to the 50 mistakes you should know series, mistake number 8, which is rejecting favorable exchanges. And normally that happens because we are not objectively playing or making the decision, and we avoid to exchange, for example, queens because our opponent is much lower rated and we wanted to keep winning chances alive. And we want, for example, to avoid exchanging pieces in general to complicate the position for our opponent as we are higher rated. So we lose objectivity and we make such decision. Let's see examples, and at the end of the episode, we will talk a bit how to solve this and how to handle this mistake, which is rejecting a favorable exchange. Here, it's white to play, and white is much better thanks to this passer, and this is actually a very dangerous pawn. Note, rule, passed pawns has more value and more power in end games more than in openings and in middle games. So creating a passer in the opening means probably nothing. It means something if you can reach endings, okay? That's great. So here white is winning, but he needs to kill the active counterplay. And doing that, you should exchange pieces. So your opponent won't have pieces actually to create counter chances. So here the best move for white is, we'll give you a couple of seconds to pause the video and try to find it out. The best move for white is queen e3. Making use of the fact that we're attacking the rook in the meantime, and we're attacking the queen as well. And if you go back with your queen to avoid the exchanges, then you're giving up a pawn, which is going to be great, and you lose part of your activity of the queen. But what happened in the game, white avoids this way of thinking to exchange pieces while he is winning, and he played b6. He is rushing the winning. But black has now counter chances, and it's all started. Bishop d1. And the reason of bishop d1 is that we cut off the file or the rank, and now queen e1 is a threat. So the queen is no longer protecting e1 square. And if you take with the bishop, I can give a check first and then take back. And this king all of a sudden will be in danger. So queen c3 is played in the game, but again bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, and again activity. Rook f4 attacking the queen, so you don't have time to push b7. Queen c3 now, offering a queen's exchange. Here black messed up and played queen e2, though rook d4 was a better idea. And after rook d4, rook d1 actually is a mating threat, and still it's not that easy to win the game. Maybe queen d5 later on, rook d1 is another. It's very, very annoying, yeah? You cannot feel comfortable playing white here. But in the game, black played queen e2. He thought like the threat on f2 is great. Actually, it's not. And white bought that, and he played queen e3, which is not the best move. The best move was simply rook c8, and after queen f2 is just one check, and after king h2 there is no more checks, and now actually you are under mating net, and b7, b8 is another threat as well. But in the game, queen e3 is played, and now in this position actually black should exchange queens. Why? Because there is a rule which is going to talk about later on in the book about how to enter such an endings, but whenever you can control or control the passed pawn from the back, especially if you have a rook endings, then that should be fine. Like after rook c7, g5, and after you take on e7, just king g6. This rook is super active. Rook probably b7 is coming. Maybe we need to, or we will harass the rook later on. Black has good fighting chances to make a draw. Anyways, in the game, queen d1 is played, and after king h2, g5, b7, threatening a queen, queen d7, simply rook b6, and soon a queen came, and then the queen came back to the game, and white just won the game. But the game actually was crazy, and at the end white won. It should be, or it should have been, much easier. Now let's take another example. Here it's black to play, and now black made a wrong decision, though he is 2100 and his opponent is 17. And probably that what affects the decision of his. He said, okay, I don't want to exchange more pieces because I do want to keep more winning chances, though he lost the game because of this way of thinking, because he lost the objectivity. If you want to be objective, then the rules of chess says, if you do have less space, and we do have less space here thanks to the d5 pawn, and if you do have a better pawn structure, we do have a better pawn structure as this pawn structure is doubled, then exchanging pieces will be in your favor. So here, rook f e8 was a great move, as after this move, black or white cannot actually move the bishop away without exchanging the two rocks. And for example, if you go like bishop d3, I take, you take, I take, you take, and then you can improve the knight actually to e5, knight, 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 and then move on. And you play a long game. You have no chance to lose. You have every single chance to win the game. And this is actually a very technical game of chess. And let me tell you this. You cannot win in chess every single time by checkmate. Sometimes, and this sum is a good margin, you need to play such an ending. You have to. This is your only way to win. You keep playing, maneuvering, and then you win the game. But you cannot win actually by checkmate every single game. So after king e1, as we said, you put your knight here and you play on, and you don't have any chance to lose the game. But in the game, rook e5 was played, but that was a bad move. You're attacking on e5, but after bishop d3, rook f e8, rook takes e5 again, rook takes e5 has to be played, but f takes e5 is played. And now actually the activity is great for white. The rook is coming, the f pawn is coming, knight e4 is coming, everything is coming, and just the position just collapsed all of a sudden. Rook e7 is played, trying to prevent rook g7, but f6. Rook f7, bishop f5, check. He went back, then check. Rook f8, check. You cannot take, you lose the rook. King f7, check again, and now simply knight e4. And white went on to win the game. Because now f7 probably a threat, knight takes is a threat, too many threats in this position, and white is simply winning. So again, you cannot lose your objectivity. One more example. Playing white is 2000 and black is 1700. And here white should have exchanged the bishops. Why? Because he has less space. So exchanging pieces will be a great strategy, following by knight g4. Again, exchange more and more pieces. And here is a nice tactic. Rook takes, not here, maybe if knight h7, for example, then maybe rook takes e5. And if knight takes e5, there is knight e7. So the knight is no longer protecting on e7. So that's a great move, knight g4. And if knight takes g4, then queen takes g4, you might say, but I'm going to lose the pawn. No, you're not. Because you do have this tactical idea. Bishop h6, gh6, rook a d1. And after, for example, rook c2, you do have rook d6. Attacking the bishop, and if the bishop moved away, then there's rook takes g6. After f takes, queen g7, checkmate to be followed. So that's the reason, or that's the idea. But again, white is 300 rating higher, much higher rated player. He said, no, I don't want to exchange pieces. I want to keep pieces. I want to complicate the position for my opponent. And played bishop c2. Queen d7. Black played a very nice move. Actually, this strategy is super bad because rating, I do believe, is no longer relevant. Why? Because many chess players are underrated. Many chess players are now underrated. So you think he's 1700, but he's all of a sudden play like 2200. What can you do? Nothing. You're losing the game and you're losing your lovely rating. So after queen d7, knight e3 is played, attacking the bishop. Rook a d8, interesting move, giving up the bishop. And now knight g4. And after knight g4, queen d7, black is saying, okay, I am lower rated. I want to exchange pieces and I want to make my life simpler. And actually that was the right decision, to exchange queens, followed by g3. Again, you do have the bishop pair, and a4 next to improve the rook, weakening the light squares in case of b4. Then this diagonal will be weakened that much. And you play this sort of position. You have to start playing such sort of positions and liking them actually, because many of the times this is your only way to win a chess game. You cannot win every single game with checkmate. So that was the best decision. But again, white is saying, I am higher rated, I don't want to exchange queens, and he played queen g3. And after queen g3, actually bishop c7 was a great move, and e4 is coming, knight f4 maybe is coming, and this position is super crazy now. Nobody knows what's going on. Probably black is the one who has better chances. Last example, because or before we talk about what to do to solve this problem. Here it's black to play. Black is 2100 and white is 1800. I am messing up here. Anyways, you don't see the ratings anyhow. So here black played queen e5. And we have talked about before, that is, whenever you do have a bad king, then try to exchange queens and don't do the opposite. So here queen c5 was the best move actually. And the point is, if you go queen b7, then threatening checkmate, then rook e7 wins the game because the queen is attacked and the bishop as well. It's not easy to protect both of them. Maybe queen e4 there is some sort of double. So after queen c5, position will be great. But in the game, black decided not to do that and he played queen e5, which was a bad move. He not actually rejecting a favorable exchange, he rejecting offering even that. After queen e5, white played queen b7. Now a checkmate is threatened. Now last chance was queen g3, fg3, rook e6. 2 rooks against the queen. Yes, white has a better king, but I do believe the 2 rooks must survive. So after queen b7, f5 is played, covering the square, but bishop takes f5. You cannot take the bishop, you will be checkmated. And the checkmate threat is coming. So rook e7 to stop that, but now queen f3. Queen takes h5 is another threat. Queen e2 trying to stop that, but now in the game queen c3 was played, but queen f4 actually was much simpler. And now this is a dangerous threat, probably you cannot deal well. Rook d6 is not there, rook e6 is not there, queen e6 is not there, queen e3 is not there, nothing is there. And the king is super safe on h2. And white went on to win the game. So this is actually mistake number 8. First of all, before I forget, if you like this episode, please press the like button. And now what should we do to avoid that? First of all, you need to be objective, as we said. You need to play as much as possible. Okay, I know it's tough. I know it's difficult to be objective in chess, but sometimes or most of the times this is the best decision you might take. Because if you look about, or if you play about ratings, for example, you're much higher rated. As we said earlier, your opponent might be underrated as well. So you said, no, I want to complicate the position for him. He will collapse. He will make mistakes because he's 1700 or he's 1200 or whatever 100. Then all of a sudden he shows up his real strength and all of a sudden you are losing. That's first. Second, you need to start likening playing such endings, such technical position. I will simplify the position, will play that where I have a better bishop, where I have a better knight, where I have just a better pawn structure. Improving this mentality will improve your chess understanding as a whole. Why? Because that will help you taking more decisions later on, right decisions later on, and will widen your insight, your vision towards chess. You're not playing as only searching for tactical opportunities. No, you're understanding the game better and you're understanding the games you play and the games actually of grandmasters, of international masters, of title players, how they approach chess. I hope that makes sense. This is a mistake number 8 and we are done with the exchanges area. And next we will be talking about more probably frequent stuff, taking calculation area, which is going to be much more, I do believe, useful. Thanks for that. Stay tuned for the upcoming stuff. You can check out the series on your left. You can or make sure to subscribe so whenever we publish something you will get notified. Thanks for watching. Have a nice one. See you.